Try not to concern it doesn't nibble. Have you heard this expression from a canine proprietor in this video? We'll dig into the story that happened in 2001 in California. These occasions plainly show what underrating the risk of some canine varieties can prompt on January 26, 2001. Police and a rescue vehicle showed up at one of the apartment buildings in San Francisco. The narrative of 33-year-old Diane Whipple became one of the most high-profile claims of those days. Diane was brought into the world on January 21, 1968, in Princeton, New Jersey. She cherished sports since youth, and lacrosse turned into her genuine romance. She was an effective competitor. The young lady messed around for the U.S. Public Group. A few times subsequent to completing her serious profession, Diane kept on rehearsing lacrosse, however presently as a mentor at St. Mary's School of California, situated in the San Francisco Sound region. On January 26, 2001, Diane was getting back from work. She and her sweetheart, 37-year-old Sharon Smith, resided in a high-rise in Pacific Levels. Returning, Diane halted at a store to purchase food and different products Diane and Sharon wanted to spend tonight together. However, their arrangements didn't materialize. The principal disturbing sign was, when Sharon got back after work, she saw the police cordoning off the structure where she and Diane resided. Sharon really felt unsettled about this, and it just strengthened. At the point when she saw that nobody was permitted inside, incapable to get into the structure, Sharon conversed with the landowner, who stood close by. He didn't have a clue about the subtleties, just referencing that a few canines had nibbled Diane anyway. Sharon quickly comprehended what sort of canines the property manager was referring to. Tears streamed down her cheeks, since she realized that the mishap was probably not going to end with simply chomps. Diane and Sharon lived on the 6th floor. Their neighbors were a several 45-year-old Marjorie Knoller and her better half, 59-year-old Robert Noel. They claimed a couple of Prairie Canario canines. Prairie Canario is a type of canine with strengthened regional and watch impulses. A grown-up canine of this sort arrives at a level of around 21 to 26 in and weighs around 110 lb. A few nations consider this canine variety possibly hazardous, while Australia, Malaysia, and New Zealand have even restricted carrying them to their regions. Obviously, one ought to take note of that pet people assume an essential part in what sort of character their pets will have. Inappropriate preparation, or its finished non-attendance, is probably not going to end with something positive, as referenced. Before Diane came by the store, returning to purchase food in the wake of buying all that she really wanted, she returned home at around 4:00 p.m. A lady who lived on the 6th floor called 9.1. Once she revealed that something horrible was occurring in the passageway. She referenced hearing the canines woofing, and their proprietor being not able to quiet them down. Crisis administrations quickly went to the scene. At the point when the police arrived at the 6th floor, the canines were presently not in the passageway. Their proprietor figured out how to drag them into the condo from where the woofing kept on coming. The police saw a horrendous picture. Maybe a storm had moved throughout the hallway, yet the most exceedingly terrible part was how the canines treated Diane. Paramedics desperately took Diane to the medical clinic. She had around 80 injuries on her body. Notwithstanding every one of the specialists' endeavors, Diane was gone. She kicked the bucket around the same time, neglecting to recover awareness. In the interim, experts showed up at the scene to remove the canines. Yet it ended up being an uncomfortable cycle. The male canine, named Plague, kept on acting forcefully. One ought to take note of that curse weighed 141, which was more than the heaviness of Diane Whipple. Realizing that 2 canines partook in the assault, one understands that Diane had basically zero chance to ward off the assault, and the way that the assault happened in a restricted space just exacerbated it. The Creature Control Administration's euthanized curse, who would have rather not quieted down at the scene to keep away from another occurrence, the female canine named Hera, was not a lot more modest than Blight. She acted all the more tranquilly, and in this way kept away from Plague's destiny anyway. It would be more exact to say that Hera saved herself some time. After each of the a year after the assault on Diane, they euthanized her. Also, police have sent off an examination concerning Diane's passing the canines that went after her paid for it with their lives, yet, as you most likely are aware, we are liable for what we have restrained. The main individual who saw all that happened was the proprietor of the canines, Marjorie Knoller. She gave the impression of an individual stunned by what had happened. She guaranteed that she attempted to pull the canines from Diane, yet couldn't do it, which, recollecting the heaviness of curse alone, appeared to be acceptable. There were minor wounds on the lady's hands, which by implication affirmed her words. A few inquiries promptly emerged. First, why such large and forceful canines were without gags. Furthermore, for what reason did they keep such canines in the loft? Thirdly, for what reason did the canines assault Diane? As indicated by Marjorie Knoller, her canines were thoughtful and thoroughly prepared, yet that practically all canine proprietors say the lady told the examiners her rendition of occasions on that evil trend day, as per to her story on January 26th. She was strolling her canines on the top of a private, complicated, as we currently realize she did it, without gagging them. In the wake of strolling the canines, Marjorie went down to her floor. At that point, Diane, who lived on a similar floor, was remaining before the way to her loft. She was searching for keys in her handbag. When the canines saw her, they began snarling and woofing. Marjorie asserted she was attempting to limit them, yet given their solidarity and weight, she was unable to do it. The canines broke free and surged towards Diane. At this point, the stepping stool made the way for her condo. Yet, she lacked opportunity and energy to head inside and hammer the entryway behind her. The keys were all the while hanging in the entryway lock. The canines kept on going after Diane for around 10 minutes. They quieted down a little solely after she passed out, and subsequently quit standing up too. Anyway, it's vital to underline that this was Marjorie Knowles's rendition of occasions. After all, there could have been no different observers to the episode. The police would, before long, scrutinize the canine proprietor's words toward the start of the examination. Everybody thought about Diane's demise, a mishap. The proprietors of the canines, Marjorie Knoller and Robert Noel, told columnists they were stunned by what happened in light of the fact that their pets had never shown hostility anyway. When one of the meetings about kind and thoroughly prepared canines showed up on television, the police began getting calls from different occupants. Everybody disproved the expressions of the life partners that their canines were not forceful. It was a remarkable inverse. They kept every one of the occupants in dread. The proprietors responded deficiently to remarks about the shortfall of gags on canines, beginning to affront the people who made them one individual. Even recommended that Marjorie Knoller might have purposely set the canines on Diane. As indicated by certain reports, there was a contention between the neighbors, Diane remarked, on the absence of gags on canines. While Marjorie despised Diane on the grounds that she dated a lady, neighbors and walkers submitted many questions to the public security specialists, yet nobody treated them in a serious way until it was past the point of no return. Besides, it wasn't whenever those canines first went after Diane. Around 14 days before her demise, she was chomped on the left wrist by one of the canines, yet she kept away from cut-off wounds since she wore her games watch on that hand. In view of the data, got analysts begun concentrating on the personalities of canine proprietors. Marjorie Knoller and Robert Noel were legal counselors. While examining their history, the police found a bizarre detail. Not so well before the examination started, the couple finished the reception strategy. Yet, the odd thing wasn't the reality of reception itself yet. Who they embraced. The first thing that strikes a chord in quite a while is that somebody took on a youngster anyway. This wasn't true here. Marjorie and Robert embraced 38-year-old Paul Schneider, their previous client, who was carrying out a daily existence punishment for attempting to take an individual's life because of collaboration with the restorative office staff. The police found that Schneider was attempting to coordinate a private company while in jail. The sort of business he picked ended up being very fascinating. he attempted to fabricate a business for reproducing and selling Presa Canario canines and putting together battles with their support. As it turned out, Marjorie Knoller and Robert Noel were engaged with this plan as well. To begin his business, Schneider purchased canines of various genders through his kin outside the jail. At first, his companion from Ohio dealt with those canines anyway. The creatures showed hostility, so Schneider's companion put the creatures on a chain. Subsequently, they began acting significantly more forcefully. Before long, the connection between Paul Schneider and his companion disintegrated, which brought about his temporary parents, Marjorie Knoller and Robert Noel, taking the canines. Yet the primary inquiry that many were keen on was the reason a wedded couple expected to embrace a 38-year-old detained. During the examination, the police found photographs of Goller topless in Schneider's phone and correspondence between each of the three. The specialists portrayed those letters as sensual. In one of the letters, Noel gloated to Schneider about the occurrence when Kurse and Hera ran out of the lift, nearly thumping down Whipple, whom Noel derided as a meek, minimal drab blonde who nearly had a coronary. It worked out that Knoller and Noel finished the lawful reception of Schneider a couple of days after Diane Whipple's passing. As per a few assertions, they did it to work with night visits in jail. Individuals began condemning Knoller and Noel when the above data showed up in the media, as opposed to saying sorry to Diane's family and her friends and family. They accomplished something that further turned the general population against them. They sent a composed explanation to the head prosecutor 5 days after Diane Whipple's demise. In it, they attempted to vindicate themselves of obligation and fault someone else for what happened. Who do you think they accused? The response is very straightforward. The couple made Diane liable for the dogs going after her. They said the canines were forceful as a result of the impactful smell of Diane's fragrance and her utilization of steroid prescriptions. This assertion did the couple no decent now. Even the people who had recently thought of them as guiltless of what had happened were against them. What befell Diane transformed into a high-profile criminal examination. On Spring 9, 2001, the lead prosecutor declared that they accused Marjorie Knoller of second-degree hardship, of life and compulsory homicide. Her better half, Robert Noel, got just compulsory taking of life charges. The police captured the couple without precedent for the historical backdrop of California. The proprietor of a canine that lethally bit an individual got captured for life hardship. The primary court meeting was in February 2002. The indictment needed to persuade the jury that the couple understood what risk their canines presented to other people, yet never really safeguarded individuals. The misfortune could not have possibly occurred on the off chance that the canines had gags observers who resided in a similar house with a wedded couple showed up in court. They said that canines quite often acted forcefully towards individuals and different creatures as per proclamations. Marjorie Knoller likewise gave indications of animosity while hearing the comments about the absence of gags on the canines. Be that as it may, the lady obviously denied it. She guaranteed she was attempting to safeguard Diane at the hour of the assault. However, it was difficult to trust after all. While Knoller had minor scraped areas, it was elusive, a flawless spot on Diane's body, and the assault endured 10 minutes. At the preliminary, some even recommended Knoller purposefully set the canines on Diane in light of the fact that she despised her, yet it was difficult to demonstrate such a hypothesis. On Spring 21, 2002, Robert found fault for compulsory hardship of life. Marjorie Knoller was found blameworthy on the 2 counts, understanding that she could use the remainder of her life in jail. Marjorie employed another legal counselor who got another preliminary, which occurred on June 17, 2002. This time, Knoller was viewed as not at fault for second-degree life hardship. Thus, every one of the companions got 4 years. In jail, however, the state court of requests upset the adjudicator's choice, connected with the subsequent degree taking of life so crafted by examiners, went on by 2004. Both Noller and Noel had carried out their punishments on compulsory life hardship charges, and Marjorie was delivered on bail, while her second-degree life hardship sentence was forthcoming new preliminaries delayed for a very long time. Subsequently, on September 22 and 2008, Marjorie Noller was found blameworthy. The court condemned her to 15 years to life detainment. In 2019, California chiefs denied her most memorable application for parole on February 15, 2023. Noller showed up before the parole load-up. For the subsequent time, individuals near Diane Whipple have taken a stand in opposition to her delivery. It's difficult to survey the effect of this misfortune, Sharon Smith said. I was in shock for a long time. A large portion of my life has become unrecognizable. The parole load-up concluded that Noller stays a danger to society and will stay in care. She can record another application no sooner than 2026. Noel passed on from cardiovascular breakdown in a nursing home on June 22 and 2018, on his 77th birthday celebration. He resided in relative haziness following his delivery from jail, and filled in as a cook for quite a while right up to the present day. Noller is carrying out a punishment that might have been tried not to by just gag the canines. Absolutely. If you enjoyed the introduction to Unfit Frame, feel free to hit the like button to show your support. Additionally, don't hesitate to leave a comment sharing your thoughts, suggestions, or any specific topics you'd love to see covered on the channel. Your engagement is valued and helps shape the content to better suit the interests of the Unfit Frame community. Thanks for being a part of the journey.